Welcome to The Nooner, a daily dispatch of open-ended ideas from J.E. Peterson, but you can call me Jordan. If you like this podcast, I hope you'll click whatever you need to click to make sure it consistently shows up in the crosshairs of your attention. The thought of you missing out gives me night sweats. All right, here's today. Your heathen kids aren't going to hell. Let's talk about hell. Or, more specifically, Christian hell, which I will not bother to try to define or defend, and how a person might or might not qualify to go there. Growing up in a Christian faith community, I've known a lot of people on both sides of what has become a very familiar relationship. Devout parents of unbelieving children. Likely you are, or have been, or know one or both of these kinds of people. For most of my life, my sympathies aligned with the children, and how terrible it must be to have parents who think you're going to hell. I've had so many friends who felt that in order to maintain their own integrity, they had to break from the faith traditions of their parents, only to find themselves on the other side of a dogmatic chasm that often ended the relationship. Curse those close-minded parents, I thought. How can they do this to their own kids? But now, as a parent myself, I'm discovering more sympathy for the parents. Because as awful as it must feel to have your parents fear for the fate of your soul, how much worse must it feel to believe that your own child, who you love so much more than your own self, might end up being punished for eternity? Suddenly, all the irrational behavior, all the bad reactionary decisions of these parents make more sense. Nobody makes good decisions when they're terrified. This relationship dynamic is profoundly tragic, because neither devout parents nor their agnostic children seem to have much control over what they believe. Much as you'd like to, you can't just tell someone to stop believing in hell, any more than you can tell them to start believing in it. Not that that's stopped anyone from trying in at least 10,000 years of religious contention, but no matter how ineffective it is, we never seem to get tired of trying to tell people what they ought to believe. Listen, I know I'm not going to solve the problem with a 3-minute newsletter/podcast, but to the parents of children who have left the faith, please rest assured that God loves them no less than you do. And if you wouldn't consign them to eternal suffering in a lake of fire, why would God do it? And if you believe in the kind of God who loves your children less than you do, may I suggest you find a different one to worship. And to those children, please be patient with your poor parents. People do dumb things when they're afraid, and they are only afraid because they love you. As for the rest of us, lucky enough not to be the victim of such harrowing beliefs, may we reach out to offer words of peace and comfort to anyone in need, regardless of where they stand along the Great Divide. Are you thinking about someone right now? That's probably a good indication that they might like to hear what you just heard. I'm not going to ask you to spam your socials, but I am going to ask you to follow your heart. And right now, your heart knows who to share this with. See you at noon tomorrow.